Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a very busy week. This is freshly squeezed on a Sunday. Normally I don't record on Saturday and Sunday unless there's a lot of stuff to cover. But of course, due to some family concerns and family issues, which are now resolving and calming back down, I'm back to being able to kind of catch up with the content that I want to make. But it's going to be a very busy week next week as well for me personally, and the game, because we've got a new update. But what I want to do is do a video that I think is going to be really important. Players are going to look for an opportunity to be Valiant and 100% Necropolis. So one thing that I want to do in this video is separate it out. So in the description there should be like a time frame switch between when I'm talking about a free-to-play approach to 100%ing Necropolis versus spending, and kind of if you were looking to spend a little bit with it. Now look, how you tackle content is down to you. If you spend, if you don't spend in game. And one thing that I've definitely learned since switching between spending to non-spending over the last 2 years is planning, stash management and preparation and approach is going to be key to taking all of this content down. So let's get into this. I put notes in the description as well of if I was to spend versus if I was free to play and the approach that I ended up doing. So let's get into it. So if you are free to play, you're going to have to think about several things, and we'll go in at great depth, but those main things are building a roster, mastery management, stash management, deals, and those deals can be things to do with like Cyber Weekend, July 4th, but also revive based deals as well, and trying to grab as many level 3 and level 4 revives and other stuff like that. So there's a lot of things to cover if you're free to play, and we'll break that down for you. Let's start off with building a roster. One of the most important things if you're free to play is trying to build a roster as effectively and efficiently as possible. When this endgame content comes out, it's normally champions are built that are built like after that really help out the content. Onslaught could have been a fantastic option to take into Necropolis, and it was a champion released 1 month after. In January, I'm not saying they're not great when it comes to Bullseye and White Tiger, they're still fantastic, but I really feel Dust and Ironheart are going to be some great high damage dealers with very low rotations. One thing that a lot of players will notice when they go into Necropolis, and same thing with Abyss of Legends, time is key as to how much you can do within a certain space of time. And when you've got things like the Anks and you've got a time window opportunity, maximizing damage potential in a short space of time is then equals to revive efficiency. So trying to use a revive and getting as much damage per revive per champion is going to be a key element. But of course with Necropolis, there's a lot of future planning. And even though that, for the best part, and I will be honest, I did use Aegon for a good chunk of this. So there were some standout champions for me personally that I liked. And that's the thing as well. Roster management, learning new champions and acquiring new champions. So you could Aegon it all if you wanted to, but there were some standouts. Dr. Doom was a key champion for me to take down Airwalker, and that's something that saved me a lot of revives. Human Torch was a great champion I utilized on Path 4. There was also the usage of Shuri. Shuri was a standout champion as well. Having those passives were really helpful. Having those shocks, again, really helpful. And it's a champion that could have done Path 4. Because on Path 4, you're really required to deal with certain situations like the Diablo fight. And I think there's one other one as well. If you then switch into certain other things with Mastery, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can also see some great advantages. I am disappointed in myself for not kind of being braver to use Photon for Path 4. And again, I'm not saying that we're talking about one particular path, because I will be doing an infographic, hopefully later on today, but it's a lot of work to kind of pinpoint champions you could use against different champions within that. So doing like a kind of an infographic guide per path, per champion versus that. It's coming. It's just a case of of course, family issues have kind of, put that to the back burner. But there's lots of different options that you could use. And acquiring new champions is going to be so important to you. When it comes to July 4th deals, selectors are going to allow for you to expand your roster and acquire some of these champions that are going to be difference makers to taking down content. But also look towards 6-star features. When you get an opportunity for 6-star features wherever you're in the game, it will give you, like for me, I got Photon and I could have used Photon. When there's some of the other ones there, like Kindred can be a fantastic defender for Battlegrounds, but also there's other opportunities for the sub-featured. Whether or not there's something that stands out there for you, there could be something there. I really hope that Kabam develop more Necropolis-based champions, or champions in the scheme of things, you know, built for Necropolis. So that would hopefully be a positive thing. When it comes to the next thing, which is stash management, I'm hoping that Kabam roll out that deal right up there. The Potion and Revive bundle. This for free-to-play players is going to be so essential. This gives free-to-play players the opportunity to get level 5 revives. Here's the thing. It's very difficult, or it's harder nowadays for free-to-play to access more spicier revives or stash manage. If you've got the Summoner Sigil, it does help out massively. So when you've got your health and energy section and you look at this, you're like, okay, great. I can grab level 1 revives and level 2. Nowadays, with revive farming being theoretically nerfed into the ground, you'll have to really box clever. How do you box clever with that? Well, that's doing things like the Apothecary and 22-hour solo events. One thing as a free-to-play player I've been massively passionate about is getting 22-hour solo events done up to the point of getting that level 2 revive, which you can see right there on screen, and also doing on a daily basis Apothecary. Apothecary is at this moment the only way you can kind of get more revives, and there are some other ones, but it's always very iffy. So having opportunities to grab if there is a revive there, and of course do that route first, then look back and see if that's there. So always do, when you're doing Apothecary, do the lower one first, because then it resets the route, and it could reset to a level 2 revive. I've had 2, maybe 3 one day, and that was fantastic for level 2 revive, so you always need to top up that. As a free-to-play player as well, and maybe for spending as well, always hoard your free crystals, your free 4-hour crystals. Hoard them. They will be important in order to kind of take on the content. Pop them open, see what you get, put them in your stash. And also do bear in mind that because they're on a 14-day stash kind of expiry, you can manage your stash. So save up until you're at the end, I think it's like 20, hold 20, then do 14 days of grinding, or 13 days of grinding, depending how you're looking at this. And then on the 14th day, go in to do hard content to then go, the stash is managed, and I've got about, I don't know, you might have about 60 revives, maybe 70, bit of unit, go in, and then do it that way. That's not really the best way of kind of. I would like to see that revive farming is kind of leveled up, but also leveled up to a point of like an area you can get level 3 health, level 3 revives, because then you're able to have more in your stash. So you're able to have theoretically at one given time 60 revives in your stash, and then whatever's in your inventory, and then whatever extra in your stash can help you out. And I'd like Kabam to do that, or have the opportunity for players to acquire those level 4 revives. Again, stash management for free-to-play is so important, and it's very different when you're looking at it from a spending perspective, because you will be able to hold more revives, or have an opportunity to hold more revives. So getting content done doesn't feel like there's a pay gap there. So that's that. Masteries, again, another kind of like essential thing for me. Now, I've still got a mastery that I need to change, but for the best part, like this is what I kind of utilized for it. I did not want to change my mastery. Some people will say you should have changed your mastery. That costs a good chunk of units each time, and I don't know how it would be, like whether or not I could manage that throughout. And here's the thing, reducing units when you don't know what's going to happen is tough, and your expectations versus, you know, output becomes an issue. So you've got to be very careful of the approach. So a lot of the time I would have despair, debuffs applied to enemies to reduce their healing and regeneration. For sometimes that has been very effective. And of course, having full things in glass cannon can be helpful to maximize more damage. You can go for a fully offensive kind of method. But again, recoiling, SP3 rotations limit your approach and your rotation, depending on if you're running one kind of mastery or not. You do you with how you feel that's going to be best switched for you. So that's really it from a free-to-play perspective. Let's cut the video there. That's been my approach, by the way. That's been my approach to kind of like from a free-to-play standpoint of how I've looked to 100% Necropolis. If I was to spend, it'd be very different. If I was spending, I would look to get the Summoner's Sigil just because it adds more of a collection standpoint. On your Black ISO market, you can get more health potions, and yes, you can farm revives and health potions, or the health potions for free from doing things like Road to Labyrinth and have auto fighting there. The same way you can level up your type of health potion, but do bear in mind this is an extra type of health potion that can sit in your account that you can have later down the line. That's beneficial for you. There's also some other opportunities to scale up certain things, grab more kind of level 3 health potions without having to grind in things like Realm of Legends. But it's that inventories type of thing that you can hold more in your inventory that is, quintessentially a better option. There's of course more units you can grab from things like the weekly events that Kabam roll out, the test of whatever it is, test of Paragon as it stands at the moment. And of course, from a rewards perspective, there are some things like some more level 4 health potions there, and level 5 of course there. And also there's full energy refills, which could be reinvested in farming stuff. If you know, but of course the main thing is more units. The more units, which is 75 a week, is pretty much close to 2 revives you can get from just, spending on them. And again, that is it's good. But the inventory is the main thing. Increase that inventory means you can hold more. If you hold more, then it's beneficial. And look, here's the thing: you can just spend loads of health potion, loads of units, spend on loads of units to get revives, kind of health potions, but they're pretty much free to you. And then kind of like invest in that grind. Yeah, okay. The same thing would be like, well, I'll buy a load of potion revive bundles, which I do need to buy, by the way, because they're going to be very helpful down the line. But that just goes to show you like the approach. There's also, if you're a spender in the game to a high end, and that's the thing, there's a low end, Summoner's Sigil, but a high end, your acquisition of things when it comes to like, you may have been already Valiant prior to kind of going into 100% in Necropolis, which a lot of players were. I was not. I approached it, totally non-spending, and of course I'm very happy about. But a lot of people were able to get their first rank 3-7 start and go into the content, without even doing the complete. Well, I'd say doing the completion and after they were Valiant, but 100%ing maybe in a different kind of way. So there's that. But acquisition of champions, if you are spending, is very different because then you're able to grab deals more freely. If you're able to spend in the region of £200-300 or $300, whatever, you could have been able to acquire one of the key champions, or even up towards, like, if you spend $1,000 a year, even upwards of $2,000 a year or more, you could have acquired a lot more than most free-to-play players, especially when it comes to getting the right champion at the right rank to do a bit more damage. And one of the things that I definitely learned is that ascending a champion and ranking them up, Human Torch being at rank 5 and ascended helped me massively to minimize revive spend on that. But I couldn't rank up any of the champions after that. The same thing where, champion acquisition, champion rank up, and ascension costs. Free to play have to make a very, very important decision each time. But spending, it may be a bit of a more easier process to go, I can make that choice, and I can also spend to get myself out of problems if you're there. I'm not saying they do that, it's just a case that you can do that and have access to that. We also looked at a scenario of somebody that spent 57,000 units, which is the equivalent to, in my notes, $2,000, give or take, to complete one path of Necropolis. So of course, look, when you're able to do that, it's mega. You can get yourself out of there. It also means you can acquire some of the newer champions by buying some of the crystals. Again, not saying you do or don't if you super spend, but your acquisition is better versus someone that is non-spending. We have to wait a lot for things when it comes to deals. We have to wait till July 4th deals, special deals drop in. But also we have to, just wait until the featured 6 stars out in order to do it. So look, and also switching your masteries at leisure. As I said, for me, 300 units is close enough to about, I think if I was to switch them out, that was the estimated cost. I could be wrong with that one, so don't shoot me if I am wrong with that one. But look, if I was to do that, what is that? That's 7-8 revives. So 7-8 revives could be more important to getting the Grandmaster smashed out, getting a champion down that was really tricky. So you have to be very careful. And that's the thing. If you're free to play, you have to save up a lot for your units. If you're not, then of course you approach it different ways. And that's really it. You can obviously if you're spending, you can steamroll it. But that's been the video. I hope you enjoyed this. This was kind of like my perspective of if I was to spend versus non-spending and how both of us try to, you know, tackle the content. In a nutshell, get units, go back in, steamroll it. Both types of approaches work. It's just the problem is free to play have to put a lot more effort in order to do it and have to be super skilled. If they're not, then it's going to cost you. And if it's costing you, you gotta work hard to grind it out to get the resource to do it. And I'm not saying, you know, if you're super spending you don't, or spending in general you don't. It's just the case there's things that are there that help, like acquiring things quicker. Whether it's champion rank ups, whether or not it's helpful items, whether or not it's the Summoner Sigil, which gives you nice stuff on a weekly basis. That, of course, if you're non-spending, it doesn't. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching this video. Check out some other content located on screen right now. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.